Hello everybody, welcome to this session on the slot 3 discussion of CAT 22. Now for those of you who have taken the exam in the slot 3 and you're watching this, most of what I'm saying right now would be familiar to you. I will try and add insights that may have been difficult, that may be difficult for a regular student to kind of get into. If you have taken the CAT in slot 1 and slot 2, watching this video will help you get a relative understanding of how the difficulty levels have been of slot 3 compared to slot 1 or slot 2, whatever slot that you have taken in. And if you're watching this video without having taken the CAT 22, then you would get an understanding of how slot 3 has been overall. We will be taking this up in two parts. One is essentially covering the overview, and then we will do a deep dive and do a detailed analysis of each of the sections of the exam, right? So let's start off with the overview. Now, as you know, particularly those who have taken the exam know, the exam has not been different from CAT 21. So CAT 21 also had the same number of questions. So CAT 21 essentially the same number of questions across sections. There has been a slight change in terms of the number of MCQs, but we'll talk about that when we do the detailed analysis. So 21 and 22 essentially maintain the same number of questions. Now, why is that relevant or important? It is relevant or important to understand that the earlier CATs had many more number of questions. The number of questions have come down, and for the last 2 years, essentially 21 and 22, therefore it seems to have stabilized at this number of 66. That is a total of 66 questions, 8 MCQs in Quant, 8 non-MCQs in Quant, 6 non-MCQs in DILR, and 3 non-MCQs in VARC. Now, why is non-MCQs so important? It is important because they play a huge role in deciding the negative marking. So if you see, overall out of 66, we have 17 questions which are non-MCQs, right? Now, one may be tempted to think that in 17 questions we do not have negative marks, but then these questions are very smartly prepared, where guessing what the possible answer could be would be very, very difficult without the options being available. Therefore, while yes, not getting negative marks is a valid way to look at it, but getting the right mark, getting the positive marks also would be equally difficult, therefore, right? So not having MCQs and having non-MCQs may be a blessing in disguise, because it would cut out on the negative marking, but that is where the advantage stops at. It will not help you guess and score any additional marks, right? So let's now look at each of the sections individually. Now in VARC, we said that there were 24 questions. Out of the 24, 16 questions were from reading comprehension and 8 questions were from verbal ability. Now in reading comprehension, there are 4 passages with 4 questions each, and from the verbal ability area, there are 3 paraformation questions, 2 sentence placement questions, and 3 para summary questions. Now this sentence placement question is a new question type that has been seen this year for the first time, right? Now what exactly this is that a sentence is given, right, and a paragraph is given. Now we need to place this sentence in this paragraph at the right position. So there are 4 places given, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and which of these 4 places will this sentence go and fit in appropriately is what one needs to decide. So thankfully, while the new question type may have come as a surprise to students, it actually may have come as a pleasant surprise to many, because the difficulty level of this has not been very high. So difficulty level is something that is tackleable by the students, so to say, and therefore this new question type did not really turn out to be a bouncer, right, for the students. So this is good in a way, because in the place of these questions last year, the CAT had odd man out questions. Odd man out questions are where a set of 4 or 5 sentences are given, and one question need to be picked out of that set of 4 or 5 which is not relevant to the paragraph, right? So in place of that, this sentence placement questions, which are at a lower difficulty level, at least as seen this year across the 3 slots, so therefore sentence placement questions can be said to be easier than odd man out, right? And then there are 3 para summary questions and 3 para formation questions. Other than these, all these 3 para formation questions are non-MCQ, so which means one needs to input the correct sequence. So 4, 1, 2, 3, or whatever number that is the right sequence, one needs to input that. So other 2 question types did not have MCQ questions, right? Moving on to DILR, the section had 4 sets. While one cannot really draw a line and say this is DI and this is LR, broadly one set can be put as pure DI and the others are LR, right? And each of the sets had 5 questions each. Last year, if you look at the questions, the sets were 6 question sets and 4 question sets, 2 6 question sets and 2 4 question sets, a total of 20. Now this year the total of 20 has been retained, but it has been retained through 4 5 question sets. So that is the difference between last year and this year. Now moving on to Quant. In Quant again, the 22 questions had 8 non-MCQs, and the area split across the topic split across various different topics that are there in Quant is like this. So majority are from arithmetic. Algebra had 7 questions, geometry had 4, and numbers 1. So those of you who have prepared well on arithmetic may have expected to solve a good number of questions, because there are 10 up to half the number of questions from arithmetic. However, when it comes to difficulty level, the matter kind of changes and slightly gets tougher to crack. So how is it that happened? So let's see when we do the detailed analysis. So let's now look at the detailed analysis. For the first section, let's start off with the reading comprehension. So there was this passage on Orientalism and interpretation of India's past. This is clearly the most difficult passage. It is difficult to read and understand, and it is also, the questions are also difficult. Meaning, for those of you who may have thought that, okay, while it is difficult to read, let's skip the reading, straight away let's go to the questions and answer the questions by figuring out what the question is asking. But then even that turned out to be difficult, because the questions were not very direct, right? So they were majorly inference based, so which made answering in that way very difficult. Now out of the 4 passages, the passage in automation was easy. It was easy not just to read, it was easy to attempt also. Not too many inference based or double negative based questions. These two had a bit of a couple of double negative based questions. In fact, this also. But if you look at the automation passage, the questions were a breeze majorly, right? Then the passages on biotechnology and social organization, disorganization, not too much of a challenge to students. However, in terms of order of attempting, if one attempted this passage first and any of these passages second and did not attempt this passage, then students would have been able to attempt at least 2 to 3 passages successfully with a good amount of accuracy, right? But those who got stuck in this passage and spent time, they are the ones who may have lost out on a lot of time in terms of being able to spend time on these scoreable passages. So losing out on scoreable passages is something that will make a big dent in the scoring opportunities, right? So let's now move to verbal ability. Verbal ability, as I said earlier, the new sentence type is broadly moderate, right? And it is not just moderate, it is also easier than the paraformation questions, right? So easier than the paraformation questions, meaning why is it easier? Here one needs to look at 4 sentences and sequence them. Here one needs to look at just one passage, while it may have more than 4 sentences, essentially placing of this one sentence in the 4 locations given. That is what one needed to do here in the sentence placement question. So overall, those who have tackled these 2 questions would have done a good job, and out of these 2 question types, para summary and paraformation questions, with no negative marking, it is normally suggested that students attempt these first and then attempt the para summary questions, because they have negative marking. However, those who are okay with reading majorly quickly, they may look at attempting the para summary questions first and then the paraformation questions, right? So overall, broadly said, the difficulty level of VARC in this slot is not at a very high difficulty level, because if you see, all these here are easy or moderate, and in the RC section also we had at least 3 easy/moderate passages. So net the VARC in the evening slot can be said to be not very difficult, right? Therefore, if we look at the cutoffs to get 85 percentile, somewhere around to 10 questions, 10 questions with a good accuracy should help one cross the cutoff. Now, how would one get to 10 questions? 1 very doable passage, the 2 sentence formation, sentence placement questions, and 3 out of the remaining 6 verbal ability questions. This would get a student to 10. So above 10, any mark, any additional questions that the student get would only be a bonus, right? So those bonuses should what get a student to these 14 questions or 17 questions, so that they can get to their 95 percentile or 99 percentile, which would kind of help and improve their chances of getting a good top B school IIM call, right? Now let's move on to DILR. Now in DILR there are 4 cases. Out of the 4 cases, let's talk about the definitely doable set. There was this one definitely doable set in this slot the mortality set. It's a simple data in terms of bar graph that is given. People, their mortality, their population, etc. are the values that to be tackled. Not difficult to understand at all, and definitely a must-do section. So students who had a not even more than average, an average level of preparation should have been able to crack this set, provided they spotted it, right? So those who got this set as their first set would be, I would say, luckier than the others, because they may have straight away been able to jump into this set. But those who have got into any of these difficult sets, they also should have realized that they are difficult and quickly got out of those sets and started the search for an easier set, and that is when they should have spotted this set. So those who have spotted this set should have got all the 5 questions correct in this set, and add to that the other sets are again not extremely difficult per se, but broadly difficult in terms of the amount of time that they demand from the students. So this puzzle set, for example, out of the remaining 3 sets, this was a relatively doable set, right? However, this set demanded time, right? In fact, that goes without saying for all the 3 questions. This was a games and tournament set, this was a quant based reasoning set. All these 3 sets demanded time, right? So that time could have been definitely when spent on this set by those who have not spotted this set, and those who have completed this set could have then tried to make sure that whatever questions are possible out of these 3 slots, these 3 sets, they kind of extract them to the maximum extent possible, right? So with that, if you see, to clear the cutoff, we are only saying around 6 attempts there, mind you, which means if one covers even the 5 questions from the easier set, then it is very easy that they will clear the cutoffs. Now from here, from the 5 questions here, we are only saying to get to a 99 percentile, just one more set is needed, right? Here if you see, the central number here is 30, right? The central number here is 15. So 5 questions from this set and 5 questions from all the remaining sets together. So that 5 plus 5 should get 1 to 99 percentile. So net 2 sets is what one needs to target to attempt to get a very high percentile in this slot, right? So that means the difficulty level of this slot is DLR in this slot is also not extremely high. And moving on to quant, in quant again the leaders are AMA and geometry along with quadratic equations. So that was a surprise. Geometry is more or less expected. AMA was there in the other slots also, whereas quadratic equations this higher number of quadratic equations has been seen in this slot. And if you look at the difficulty level, the 3 AMA questions were at a moderate difficulty level. Geometry varied from moderate to difficult, right? And quadratic equations also varied from moderate to difficult. So for those of you who have been able to spot the moderate and easy questions out of this, they would have been able to get a higher score. Now if you look at this table, the remaining part of the topics, then there are many easy questions also. Right? So therefore, all this put together, if you look at the cutoff analysis, just around 7 questions. In fact, if you see here, the central number is 13. So we are saying with about 4 to 5 questions all getting right, one would be able to clear 85 percentile, right? So counting for some errors, up to 7 questions may be required. And for 99 percentile also, we are saying just around 15 questions would be sufficient, right? So that is broadly telling us that the difficulty level of quant also is not very high, maybe not very low either, because there have been enough number of difficult questions, and the ability of the student to spot the easy question, not jump into the difficult question, is what would be determining their score. Therefore, the difficulty level is not very low, at the same time it is not very high. So with this, we look at the with this, we will now look at the overall possible cutoffs for 95 percentile. It is 66, 77 and 88, beautiful multiples of 11, all 3. So which means 88, if you look at this, the total possible score is 66 into 3, right? So 198. Now out of this 198, less than 50% marks is what can get a student to 99 percentile, right? So that is broadly the difficulty level. This is how the CAT cutoffs have hovered, 99 percentile, somewhere around the 50 percentile range. This is also in the same range. So overall, this slot can be said to be representative of the CAT exam across the years broadly, right? So with this, I wish you all the best for your second stage and for a great B school calls, a set of great B school calls that you get. So all the best and thank you.